2024 has been quite the year. Crazy. I'll give you my prediction later in the podcast for what I think it will move to for 2025. If you're looking for a job right now, just keep going in December because you will be surprised. There's a lot of stuff that kicks off. Stay fit, stay healthy. If you're not fit and you're not healthy, you can't play the game. You can't be on the pitch. My biggest piece of advice, I think, is welcome to the Recruitment Show. I love it. It's like this is the final one of the year. Crazy. 2024 has been, I think, quite the year. It's interesting because I remember we were in the studio 1 year ago in 2023 and we're looking ahead. And 23, I think, for recruiting and for jobs was a difficult year. Generally regarded as a difficult year. 24, wow, so much has happened. I mean, I think overall it's been a tough year for most folks. I think certainly people that have been out of work, certainly senior leaders and looking for those kinds of senior jobs, I think most people would say it's been difficult. There obviously have been a number of key growth areas, but as we've entered the end of the year, there's a renewed sense of positivity. Really excited. Everything's picked up this last November, December, just things are picking, people are landing. Again, this is general across the economy and world and whatever. 60 country elections this year. So there's a lot of political change, societal change, technological change. I mean, there's been some craziness around. So overall, I think, it's not too bad, but really looking forward to 2025. So 24, and I've thought about this a lot and I wrote them down because I didn't want to miss out. I didn't want to miss any big things, but so there were certain trends, I think, that we were looking at the end of 23. Some carried forward, some haven't, but it's interesting. So I think the biggest one right now, that's been the biggest one for a long time, remote work. I mean, it's been massive, right? I mean, we've been talking about this since before COVID. We had people campaigning for the right to be flexible working, work from home. And anyway, so 2024, it's crazy. People are still talking about it. So what I'm seeing right now with working conditions or where people work from, and this is obviously, we're talking about people, I'd say obviously, but white collar workers, people that generally work in offices. I think other jobs you need to be in. So I mean, even in those jobs that we can still talk about flexibility, but generally office jobs. A lot of people have been working flexibly. Some of them have been doing 3 days a week. We've got a lot of firms that do fully remote. But right now, and I think this last year, it's been moving this way. And also there was a poll done recently. I think CEOs were polled, about 75% said they reckon people are going to be in 5 days a week in the next couple of years. Something like that. So we have seen a lot of that. We've seen a lot of big companies start to want people back in and demand it in financial services, legal. Even Amazon, in the US are saying you need to come in, and I think it's at least 3-4 days a week, or maybe even 5, and you've got to be right by the office. Some people were hired remote; they have to commute or quit, relocate or quit. Quite a lot of other large companies are doing the same thing. Many firms are mandating a certain number of days a week. I mean, where I am in London right now, a lot of banks, insurance companies, legal firms, whoever it is, with offices of the actual real estate are saying you need to come in. So there's still this whole conversation going on. I don't know where it's going to land. Some people are it's only going one way and everyone's going to be back 5 days a week. But other companies, like my company, we're fully remote. We're a global boutique search firm and we're able to access talent all over the world. It works really well for us. So I think, for companies, you've got to do what works for you. And for individuals, you have to choose an environment that works for you. So if you want to be fully remote, go find a company that offers you that. If you're in an industry where you've got to get in, they're paying your salary, you've got to go in, right? This yin yang thing. Don't be... as an individual, it's give and take. Too many people, I think there's too many people this year are keep talking about you see it on TikTok a lot. We talked about we keep laughing about this 8 a.m. meeting. There was this big famous TikTok video earlier on in the year that this guy didn't want to come to the 8 a.m. meeting. whatever it is, but like in it, it's yin and yang, it's give and take. If you're an employee and you're working for a company and you want to do well, you got to work hard, you got to be there for your team, and you'll get that back, give and take. And if you're not getting it back, you'll leave. And equally for companies, like if you're offering flexibility and employees and whatever, they're taking advantage and not putting the work and stuff, again, you're gonna have to make a decision. So this is no different to any other time in history. Like, you have to be, the best folks around are the ones that, I've got 2 non-negotiables: work hard, be professional. So anyway, that's what I think. So we'll see where it lands. It's definitely all still being chatted about. Things are still changing. I think it's just super interesting. So we'll see where we land. I'll give you my prediction later in the podcast for what I think it will move to for 2025. So that's my first one. My next one is I'm seeing is, we've talked a lot about this salary transparency trends. It's been happening a lot in the US. I mean, it's already there in the US. So in the US, you can't ask people what they're earning. So as a recruiter or HR or hiring manager, that you publish pay ranges on your job descriptions and job ads. So if you jump onto an American company or a job advertised in America, probably the top or the bottom, you'll see like a range. So that's been there for a while. In Europe, it's coming in soon. We'll have the EU pay transparency directive that's coming in. That's going to be really interesting to see. Yeah, really big trend actually. And this, I think this will happen and continue to evolve. I was recruiting for a firm in the UAE recently, and it was interesting because they were moving someone from. We found a wonderful person in at a different country. Salaries were lower, and they wanted to move them to the UAE. And I thought it was wonderful because the company could have said, right, you know what, we're going to give them a little bit of an increase, but they're quite under what the country market pays. But then they said, no, actually, we're not doing that. We pay them market rate for our country because we want them to feel like they're being paid fairly. They're moving to a new country. The last thing we want is for them to come in underpaid for our competitors to poach them. Thought that was wonderful. You don't always hear that. So I think as a company, you've got to be paying fairly. You've got to pay people what I guess what you both feel they're worth, right? So you'll have a budget. And so you've got your budget, you stick to your budget. You might not be paying, like, this is the thing, you'd have to pay the top. You might not be like in the top quartile of payers in your sector, right? You can have to pay with what you can pay because you're a business, and if you're paying over the odds and the sales aren't coming in, then you have to close things down. So I think that communicating is key. So communicate like what's on offer, whether it's salary, bonus, shares, whatever, the financial stuff, but also all the other things. So I talked a bit about flexibility. That also goes into to remuneration, working conditions and stuff. Because some people, I don't think I've spoken to anyone, there's always 1 or 2 people, where money is the top reason why someone wants to move jobs or leave a job. So much of it's about people, feeling valued, good culture, progression, all of those kind of things. So there's a lot of stuff that goes into it. So if you're hiring and you're trying to construct an offer, think about all of the components that go into it, and you might be, middle of the pack on pay, fine. That's what you can afford, but you can still put stuff in place that you can attract really good folks. So that's my other kind of trend that I've seen in 24. AI and automation. I mean, everyone's talking about it. We, as a firm, have been using AI more this year than in any other point in history, and obviously. We've been integrating it into all of the different stuff that we do. So throughout our recruiting process, whether it's transcribing interviews, AI transcribing interviews, sourcing, LinkedIn have like a lot of like ChatGPT stuff baked in, because obviously Microsoft kind of own both. We use Google, Gemini, there's Claude, or whatever, Grok 2, like whatever your chosen AI is, but they've all been expanding their capabilities at a crazy rate, and it's really making a lot of the work that we do more efficient. We've been able to automate a lot of stuff and all of that. So for us as a firm, it's been great. For AI companies and tech firms, it's been a really big growth area. We've been doing an awful lot of recruiting for firms in AI and tech, both in the US, UK, Europe, Middle East, APAC, load of recruiting. It's a global talent market. And whether you are a UK firm trying to attract talent in London, you're competing globally. You've got UK firms, you've got firms all over the world trying to attract the same talent. It's a global marketplace, really fierce. You've really got to get the story right, all of that kind of stuff. So we've been doing that globally. We're a global boutique search firm, and it's been really, really interesting. So that's another trend that is continuing. And I think this is an incredible space. And I mean, obviously it's a very broad space, and really, really interesting. So that's another trend. I think also, like moving on to another, is there have been 60 country elections this year. Something like that. We've had the US, India, UK, 57 others, and it's been huge. It's really like that landscape has changed in the last 12 months incredibly. We've got Donald Trump that's coming in January, voted in. He's going to kick off, and already you're seeing a lot of conversation, dialogue. I've been traveling. I've traveled around the world since he got elected. Very interesting, speaking to people from all walks of life in different countries, and it's great. Like we have confidential conversations, and it's nice to get a little bit of a finger on the pulse of how people are feeling about different things, whether it's Donald Trump coming in, other political things, societal changes, what that means for their company, for recruiting, for investing in projects and stuff like that. And so I think with all of these things like mixed in, I would say that November, December for us on the front line of recruiting has really been building anyway. And this building from, we've seen a lot more new searches. And then, and I think it's only going to continue into 25. Most people I speak to around the world are extremely positive about the outlook for the next year. Many folks are either hiring right now or planning to in Jan. And I say right now, hiring happens in December. People think people go to sleep in December. December's often been our busiest month for new searches. And this is proving to be the case as well. So it's really interesting. So if you are hiring or if you're looking for a role, don't take your foot off the pedal. If you're looking for a job right now, just keep going in December because you will be surprised. There's a lot of stuff that kicks off. We've kicked off searches and this week. We're doing some next week, kicking off, things don't, and also a lot of people, they're at home on their phones, eating like Christmas dinner or whatever, and they're still on LinkedIn and all of that kind of stuff. So stay active, keep engaging online, do all of that stuff. If you're looking for a job and all of that, if you need to detox and unplug. One thing I'm trying to work on for next year is to leave my phone outside of my bedroom. It's been one of my, I think it's been one of my News resolutions for ever, and I've always failed. So I don't want to set myself up for failure again. But anyway, random. So I think generally I'm ending the year here. We're on a really positive note. I think there's a lot of good things that are going on. There's a lot of really interesting sectors that have done quite well. So I've been posting about this a bit on LinkedIn. So follow me if you're not already following me. But this AI and tech stuff has seen a big increase in job opportunities, and people with the right skills are in really high demand. AI, tech, things like that. We've seen clean energy. There's been an interesting increase in work there. Health tech, IT health, biotech, also been a really interesting sector and a growth sector. Smaller ed tech. And there's a lot of kind of ed tech learning technology companies around that are quietly growing and building. Anyway, there's just a few. So there's a lot of interesting areas. You're seeing more investment. You're seeing a little bit more M&A. So I'm an eternal optimist, but I'm a realistic optimist. And I think things are shaping up for a really good 2025. So that's my kind of they're my things. The final point for 24 before we move into 25, and this is a point for 24 and 25, is DEI. I think that's an interesting space, extremely important, And it's interesting because since Donald Trump has been voted in, and so for those that are watching this later on, this is December 24, and so we've started to see, interestingly, a little bit of a call it a backlash, but just or peeling back, whatever you call it. You started to see some companies not invest as much in DEI as there have been. There seems to be a bit of a backlash to it from different parts of society. So I think that space is going to be interesting to see. It's important. It's important to be done right. A lot of people felt that it swung too far one way. So I hope that the trend in 25 is that DEI regains some feeling of centre ground where everyone in society feels like they're being included and no one feels like they're being excluded for whatever reason. So I'm really into that. I feel that everyone should have a fair opportunity, no matter where they're from, whatever their DNA is. So that's going to be really interesting to watch and see. So that's my first end of 24, beginning of 25 one. 2025, right. So I've thought a lot about them. I've got 5 here. So I'm going to start with number 1. Well, we'll start with the DEI. This is a bonus one because I do think this is going to be a trend. I think it's very emotive. And I think there's going to be a lot of debate, a lot of anger, a lot of conversation, and I think for me, I'm always an advocate of listening to understand, not listening to respond. I think there's been way too much, you see it in 24, just way too many people just they're in a conversation, but they're not really, they're just waiting for their turn to say what they think and what their point of view is and not really listen and to understand and stuff. Many problems in the world, I think, stem from that. I think with DEI, I really want to see good conversations from all sides come together because, it's a really good thing it's a valiant, good thing to aim for everyone to feel included. I think it's a really good position to be in. So let's see what happens with that. That is definitely a conversation and a trend that will continue in 2025 and beyond. AI. Let's just cover AI. I know people talk about it all the time, but it's huge. It's transforming everything. So 2 parts here. So whether you're hiring or you're a job seeker. So if you're hiring right now, depending on what kind of firm you're in and whatever the budgets and all these kind of things are, AI is being integrated into hiring in all stages. Whether this is not being sponsored by LinkedIn, by the way, but whether you're using this new LinkedIn hiring assistant powered by ChatGPT, that's sourcing people on LinkedIn for you, you're putting the job description and all this kind of stuff. So companies are using it to source. They're using it to sift through applications. They're using it for psychometrics, things like that. They're using it to streamline their recruiting process. Again, so maybe it could be for scheduling, could be for video interviewing, could be for gathering feedback. It could be an AI transcriber on the interview doing notes and summaries, stuff like that. So it's huge. So there's loads of things going on. If your company's not using it in some way, you probably should be. For me, it's all about, I think the future's still human and it's important to integrate things. And so if you're using it to find people and all of that, the human element is still massive because you're still currently hiring humans and people want to work with people that they like and they trust and they vibe with and, so don't lose a human element here. So, use it to make things more efficient and all of that. But don't forget, treat people like your best customer, make them feel good. There's still a big competition for great people. Depending on which industries you're in and all of that stuff, it's really important. So don't lose the human element. You can use AI to make things more personal. You can personalize outreach. There's some really good stuff you can implement to make things more efficient. But don't forget the human element. If you're a job seeker, massive stuff going on. So if you're applying for a job, your application will probably go to an AI. So you've got to make sure you've got all the keywords, digital stuff, right? LinkedIn profile. If you're sending a resume or CV, make sure it's all matching the job description. You can stick it into your favorite AI tool and ask it to rewrite your CV. If the company is asking you for a cover letter, remind them it's 2024, 2025. But if they are, you can get your AI to write it. You can edit it, make it your own. there's a lot of that stuff. But still, I think a lot of jobs, and if you're applying for an advert, it's highly likely that an AI is going to do the first sift. And if it's a human and there's 300 applications, you're not in the first 10 or 20. You might not even get looked at. But anyway, use it that's a scenario. Then when you have a job interview, you can use it to prepare. So loads of different things. You put the job description, you ask it for questions, you can help prepare for interviews, all of those things. All of that, it's going to be very interesting to see how it evolves. I mean, maybe even we end up with virtual reality interviewing, all of that stuff. We've got deep fake videos and avatars that are starting to appear as well. So make sure the videos you're watching on social media are legit. Do your research, be discerning with your research. Don't just believe someone from Facebook because you believe and agree with everything they say. Be really discerning with your information. A friend of mine, I'll tell you a quick story. A friend of mine was hiring, and so they did a video interview. So this person joined and they did the interview. Great answers and stuff. And anyway, video down, thank you very much, whatever. And then, and I don't know why they did this, but the candidate got invited to a second interview. The candidate messaged my friend who's a hiring manager, like, oh, just to let you know, that was my avatar that interviewed, who was plugged into ChatGPT, and that wasn't even me. Crazy. They called me up and they were like, can you believe it? So some of these AIs are crazy. So make sure you're interviewing like a proper person. And that is happening more and more, believe it or not. So that's interesting. I think we're going to move into some point also virtual reality, interviewing and stuff like that. So I think all of that is to come and it will happen. So that's that. Moving on, I think another trend is skills-based hiring. There's been a lot of conversation over the years about like degrees and further education and all of those kind of things. And so again, if people are able to utilize and leverage AI and all of those things, where to find people with the skills that you're looking for and the potential that you're looking for, then I think that's a really interesting thing. And I think a lot more companies are doing that. Skills-based hiring versus, oh, they've got a degree, they've worked at this place, they must be good. So I think people are going to be really looking for the right skills. And subsequent to that, something I would quadruple down on is my human skills. I think as all of this tech stuff and unfolds, your human skills is what's gonna set you apart. So like communication, if you're in a leadership role and you're leading global teams, your ability to understand cultural differences, to lead diverse teams in different countries, being able to communicate, build relationships with people, lead people, get people on projects, get people on board, manage through change. So they're some of the things that I still think the future is human until it's not, and our boss is going to be an AI, and maybe have a different conversation. But I think right now, 2025, go really hard on your human skills. You see it all the time, right? It's like, how did you get that job? Oh, I used to work with that person, or they were a teammate of mine and they referred me, and all of that. So still your ability to relationship, keep building your network. Your network is your net worth. Cheesy, but it's true. So make sure you're really good at staying in touch with everyone you meet. And it's really easy to with social media and stuff like that. So that's that one. I think another interesting, two more things actually. So I think the salary benefits, transparency packages, I think that's going to continue to evolve. I think more and more people now with available information, I mean, you kind of know roughly, you know roughly how much you're kind of worth in the market, so to speak. Also, people are trying to integrate their work and their life much more. People value different things. So again, as an individual, take a moment to, work on your business, which is you, not just in it. So, take a few days over the holiday festive period, think about what's important to you, and all of that. It's really worth doing. And so if you're looking for a new job, or even if you're in one and you want to try and organize things a bit better, you kind of know what's important. If you're a company, personalization is key, and some people value different things over different things. And so again, asking and understanding and treating people as an individual, everyone's different with different wants, needs, desires, all of that stuff. You'll give yourself a much better chance of finding and hiring the best available people. The gig economy and project-based work. And we are seeing this a lot from two different ways. I think we're seeing companies be much more open to hiring people on like gigs. You see like a lot. I mean, like a new, it's not that a new terminology, but fractional workers. Fractional HR director, fractional CFO, fractional. So essentially like people who are coming in, senior folks doing like contracts and maybe working 1, 2, 3, 4 days a week, whatever it might be. So you're seeing that at like the top end. So again, like maybe like startups, scale ups, they can't afford a full-time HR director, can't afford a full-time CFO, but they really need the help. So maybe these people are working on projects. They're coming to do a couple of days a week, great. And then all the way through the workforce, all the way down to like people just entering. More and more people want to do gigs. And so, which is very interesting. So again, if you're a company, think through, actually, you're hiring for this job. They need to be full-time. Could they do it part-time? Do they have to be in the country that you're in? Can they be in anywhere in the world? Maybe the person you're looking for actually wants to do gig work and they've already got a couple of jobs and they're like, do you know what? I can come and do like 1 or 2 days a week for you. Would that work? So if you're hiring, think more broadly. What's the job? Why? Who can do it? Why would they want to do it? And just try and open up your talent pool. Because if you're really narrow and it's a job that's in high demand, you might need to just think a little bit more broadly. And I'm doing a couple of really senior searches right now in different countries and in industries where talent is in really high demand, and these companies are thinking through and actually being open about full-time, fractional, etc. So just think through that. If you're an individual and you want to construct this portfolio career, again, I think you got to network hard. You got to make sure your brand on social, digital footprint is all good, and you've got to really put the work in to go and find companies that you're able to work with on a contract basis or a fractional basis and things like that. It's a really good for those that want it and they like doing projects and gigs and they like kind of coming in and out, or maybe like digital nomad stuff, and they like traveling and things. It's a really good way, and if you're able to construct that kind of working life and that suits you, then it's a great spot to be in. So everyone's different, but I'm seeing more and more of that now. And I think that trend will continue into 2025. My biggest piece of advice, I think, is the network. Like a lot of people, they forget to they don't network until they need something, and then you start getting the message. I get them all the time. I've got a million like, "Hey, looking for a job." I got one the other day. I've known this guy since I was 10 years old, and it's fine. I mean, we're not spoken. I mean, I probably haven't spoken to him in like 15, 20 years. I get a message from him. He doesn't even say, "Hi, how you doing?" He's literally like, "I'm looking for a new job. Here's my CV. Can we speak next week?" I'm like, "Come on, mate. I'm good, thank you. How are you?" I mean, at least pretend you like me. Because you know what? Like, you can just do it a different way. Like, just with social media, it's so easy to stay in touch with people. Like, really easy. You've worked with them. There may be a client, a colleague, a boss. I mean, whatever. Just like stay connected. And obviously to be friends with people. You can't be friends with everyone. You can't contact people all the time. Everyone's busy, of course, But still, like, you can build a network. Now we're talking about professional network. Then it's a slightly different ballgame because these people are doing the kind of stuff that you do. And you can just touch base and be like, "Hey, Amira, how's it going? Haven't spoken to you in ages. Hope you're all going well." She'll be like, "Yeah, great," whatever. And just, just build a relationship with your friends and stuff. And at some point in the future, one of you might need some help and be like, "Hey, do you mind helping?" And then it's a whole different ball game. So that's a big message, I think, for people is like, get good. And you can do this literally 5 minutes a day. Go make a coffee, hop on any social media platform, LinkedIn, if it's professional networking, currently the number one. And just be like, right, I'm going to connect with 5 people that I know, or I'm going to message 5 people I know, just be like, "Hey, how you doing? Thought I'd check in." It's like 5 minutes. Imagine if you do that every day. Can't even do the maths, but it's like you end up speaking with a lot of peeps. So I would go hard on that. I think also look after yourself this year. I think is important. A lot. We're talking about physical and mental health a lot more the last few years. So certainly for guys, like we used to never really talk about it. And then like since COVID, I think people are more talking about more. And suddenly your mates are like, "Hey, I've got this psychologist I speak with," and everyone's talking about it online and this and that. So which is a great thing. So Look after yourself in 2025. Stay fit, stay healthy. If you're not fit and you're not healthy, you can't play the game, you can't be on the pitch. And we're going to be all working for quite a long time, and it's good to be fit and healthy. It feels good. Physical health, if you're like active, it's good for your mind. We were talking about it. In fact, we were just talking about it today. Just go for a walk, 20-minute walk. Everyone's got 20 minutes in a day. It's 24 hours in a day. If you can't spare 20 minutes. So, and if you're working at home, like, get yourself out, do this fake commute, make yourself a cup of tea, go for a walk around the block, 20 minutes. If you're commuting, you're moving, it's great. Maybe you want to move a little bit during the day as well, then you move home. So like, get fit and healthy. It does matter. It matters also, like, you know, think about, I mean, it's like sleep, exercise and diet, 3 cornerstones. It's worth doing. There's so much content out there on it. It's worth spending some time doing that. So they're my top ones. I've got one final one, which is entrepreneurship. And if you're thinking about doing a business, think about it. If you're procrastinating, just go for it. Because ultimately you have to do it. And when I started my business like 15 years ago, I was like thinking about it for a while. Then anyway, my American family were like, just go for it. What's the worst thing that can happen? And I'm like, yeah, it's true. So don't be afraid to fail. You got to try. You'll regret not trying. There's nothing wrong with like not working out, but you got to try. So if you've got an interesting business and you've got an idea and you want to try it, or even it's just a project that you're like planning on doing, or a side hustle or whatever, make this the year to go do it, because you'll regret not doing it. And life's short and you don't want to regret it. That's what I would say. Have a great Christmas, New Year, festive season, whatever. Super excited for 2025. Watch, like, subscribe, all of my usual places. We're going to be doing loads and loads more content. I'm going to be getting some amazing guests in for 25. The guest list is like almost already full. We're going to have incredible guests, CEOs, TA folks, entrepreneurs, everyone in between. I've also got a book coming out with my friend Stacey this year, so watch out for that. It's going to be an incredible year, 2025. Really looking forward to it. Thanks everyone for watching all of these recruitment shows, espressos, for engaging in my content, for commenting, for liking, for sharing, for encouraging me, for sending me all the little different DMs of positive feedback, of ideas, all of that. Really appreciate it. Really appreciate everyone, and have a great year.